Okay. Hey, we're back here. Okay. So now we've covered all that. That was good. Good start. Got a little bit more we need to cover though. First off, we need to cover connection lines. This is very important. Cover events and connection lines. Events, okay, we covered like events are like properties. We reference them in the same way, except they do different things. For example, script dot parent dot base plate. Okay, referencing the base plate here. Dot touched. Okay. Now, what this does is whenever it touched, it's gonna fire this event here. Now I gotta call a special Roblox method called connect. And from in here, I will put death. And see, now it's going to connect our function death. This event's going to fire whenever it gets touched. It's going to connect death. It's going to run our function here and print the word death to our output. Down here. I've actually got to play with the player this time though. It's work. Let's see. Now every time I touch this thing, it's going to print out more death. Well, that's how that works. You can talk about one more thing here, and that is called variables. Okay. Variables store information till needed later. So it's like algebra. I declare the variable first, but I can declare the variable first. So in other words, like reverse algebra. Instead of you figuring out what the variable means, you tell it what the variable means and then it uses it. So I'm gonna give myself a variable called variable is gonna equal or get, it's the correct term, get just call it 1. I'm gonna introduce you to a little bit of math here. Plus 1. In other words, 2. And instead of calling my print on that, I'm gonna call it on okay, now what this is going to do, let's get first, the script from top to bottom. So first it's going to see that I have a variable here called variable, but that variable equals 1 plus 1. In this case I have a function here called death. It's going to actually ignore everything that function until called. And then once it's called, and then, so skip down to here, script.parent.baseplate.touched, connect death. We've already discussed this. It's going to come down here, print my variable. So it's going to print the variable 2. Let's see if it works. See? Works. Prints 2. Okay. This is all... now that's the first kind of variable. This is called a global variable. Now, you would actually not be using these variables very often. What these variables mean is that everything on it can see it. So even if I was to put it inside my function here, like that, even if I was to do that, it doesn't matter. Okay, you know, if I was to do that, it doesn't matter. I can still use my variable outside of that function even. Now, if I want to store, but now if I want only the stuff inside this, and I want only stuff inside this function to really read it, I call it a local. And the reason we use locals is because for performance reasons, I like locals better because for performance reasons they allow smooth running of your game. Basically, so if you don't need to use a global, I prefer to use local, but it's really up to you. You can also have local functions, by the way. That works too. Local. But see, that's how this works, and this will still work just fine. You can use still work just fine here. I'll show you. See, works just fine. Still printing 2 to my output here. Okay. Well, that is pretty much all except the fact that you can store any of the things we've talked about inside a variable. I can actually store a reference to something else. So it's like I get tired of writing out script. I'm going to take this somewhere else. So I get tired of writing that out all the time. I get tired of writing out base plate, the base plate reference. So I just put script dot parent base. The thing is, you can call your variables anything you want. You just got to name them the same thing down here. You can call them anything you want. But anyway, so I can actually name this base plate if I want to. Now I can just go through here, move this, and put this will print location, so that I'm going to print the name, which is a property of base plate called name, so it'll print the word base plate there. See? So it works quite well. I think that is it for this series. I will go into other things later, more advanced topics, but this is just what you need to be able to follow like what I'm saying and understand it, because otherwise you're not going to know what I'm talking about, and there's no point in making more videos. This is just what you need to know. Now you can follow my more advanced topics, and I will and you can follow my entire series. This knowledge will just be able to introduce anything I want to, because I can just explain to you all the new stuff without having to explain to you every single process of what I'm doing. Just explain to you the new stuff that wasn't covered in these 2 videos. Okay, that's all.